First load out to the yard, and it's -8 right now. Had a good freeze last night, things have firmed right up. But this is one of the reasons why I'm moving on the frost, because even with the frozen ground, that sun over the last couple of days, you know, driving that frost out of the ground, it did a great job clearing the yard. Like, look at that. It's going to be an amazing heat sink for the bees once they get out flying. But the fact remains, I'm going to have trouble if I don't watch it getting stuck. So I'm going to do the best I can, walk on this frost, see how much I can get out, and put the day in. Working on my third load of bees now, and the bees are staying nice and tight in their boxes. It's quite nice. It's about -5. The sun's just come out, and there isn't a whole lot of activity. And I'm impressed how this is working now. I think I finally got it figured out. I've always had trouble with an overheated shed, and every time I'd open the door to try to do work on days like today, to move bees out through the day, I'd have a cloud of bees flying out the door. Could never make it work. But right now I'm maintaining the shed at 0 degrees, and holding these bees in their box is quite nice. There is virtually no bee flight in the shed right now. So the difference between then and now is the air exchange. For the longest time, what I do is I pull my air in through these vents across the room with the ceiling fans to mix up the air, and it gets pulled out of the shed through those 2 other vents. And those fans are controlled on 2 modules here. As I was initially had this place set up, I had my air intake vents. They're 2x2 openings, and what I had is on the outside in my baffle, I had a series of light baffles in there, and what that was doing is restricting the light from coming in, but also it was restricting the airflow, so I wasn't getting near the airflow coming into the building as I wanted. So finally figured that out, and I took those air baffles out, or the light baffles out, and it allowed much more air to come into the building on my high airflow. And because of that, the ambient air temperature inside is basically the same as the air temperature outside, because I'm able to exchange air so much quicker and more fluidly. And in turn, what that has allowed me to do is cool this shed down after a warm day. Like yesterday was a warm day. I could never have moved bees yesterday because it's too warm. But I had a cold night, so I was able to exchange. I had these fans going constant. I didn't allow them to idle down. I had them going full. So it was -8 outside. It was probably about -5 or so, whatever, inside here. And it cooled the shed down, sucked those bees into the boxes. And then when I opened up the door and this ray of light comes in, they recognize that obviously, but they are nice and tight in their boxes. They're not going anywhere. So this has allowed me to move these bees out onto the truck through the daylight, down the road and down into their yards, taking advantage of a nice cold day, a few cold days before some real warm days. It has allowed me to, walk in the frost, allowed me to work through the day, not have to focus all my work at night. So I'm sure happy the way this has worked out. I just by the very fact of being able to control these conditions even more precisely, I'm able to target specific conditions outside, which help me get my work done. So with that, enough yapping, and got to get back to work. So here's a little bit of that casual drift that I'm always talking about. See, these bees, the sunlight is just irresistible to them, and they get out. And they'll make a cleansing flight just as the temperature starts getting warm enough for them to fly, which is good, but it's just at that edge. So they get out there and they fly a little bit, and if they happen to land on any snow or any type of surface, a lot of these bees don't make it back. So this is that casual drift I'm always fussing about, always trying to minimize this. I consider it as loss, like right off the top. So a little bit more activity here. Some of these bees are making it back, which is fine. But over here, you'll see it's very risky for them to take flight. All these bees making the cleansing flight, which is good, but the bees aren't going to make it back. So they get lost in the snow or just on a cool shadow somewhere. So this is kind of the unfortunate nature of moving bees out, trying to pick those conditions and trying to minimize drift loss as much as we can. We're not going to avoid it. I sometimes argue with myself that this loss will occur anyways, as if they were in the shed for another 3 weeks. These are likely the bees that drift out onto the floor. Because you look at the hive, so you see this hive here, very little drift out the front. Let's take a look inside. This hive's packed full of bees. So the question is, am I fussing for nothing? And the answer to that typically is yes. But at the same time, just want to make sure I'm hitting these conditions properly and just minimize any type of loss. If we get them this far into the spring, and we want to kind of maintain the integrity of the colony as much as we can. And I don't like seeing this type of activity just to go to waste. So it looks like I'm kind of watching. It looks like most of them are getting out, getting back in. So my drift loss will be minor, I hope. But you know, it's going to get a little bit colder. It's going to quiet these guys down. So I think I'm just going to continue on with my move of the hives out. So that's 700 hives, or just over 700 hives, up and loaded and about to be taken out. This is the 5th load, so it'll be the last load of the night. I'm not going to work too late tonight. Had a pretty good day. So the hives look pretty good. I've just been spot checking. I've been spending too much time looking at them. But there's bees in these boxes, which is good. There's big ones, there's small ones, there's medium ones. I'm doing just a little bit of a heft, and I'm not finding too many light hives. So I'm not going to get too worried about running around with pails. So Carrie and I will go through and we'll just identify the light ones and drop honey in these first the next week. I just about got stuck once today. This afternoon the frost started to come out and I just about didn't make it through. But I did. I carried on. So this is, let's take a look at that mask. Started using that mask yesterday. Just the dust in the air from all the bees and the sweepings and such. So I keep that out of my lungs. It's very important. So I'm not hacking all night. At any rate, I'll strap this down, load them out, and call it a night.